I can settle down and be doing just fine till I hear an old freight rolling down the line. Then I heard
plenty of mates who have retired that I've been involved with from sporting arena and the professional arena, and they love it. They love doing the happy hour and all that sort of stuff, and that's just not me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've been retired for quite a while too, and my wife Di and I had a little camper van, and we used to head north in that. Only a small rig, so it was it wasn't a lot of comfort. It was basic. It's nice to get away for a while. It's nice to get to some warmer weather. Nice to see some different places. But that community around the parks, it wasn't for us either.
No.
And look, a lot of people love it, and that's fine. It suits them, but it just it didn't quite work for us either. It doesn't quite feel what we like to do when we're relaxing. So
And the things that I'm doing, I'm still not that I'm seeking it for any other reason, but I enjoy the physical side of from my health and well-being. I'm still active playing football, as you both know. I love to walk. I love to have a surf and all those sort of things balanced. Young at heart, when I say young at heart, I'm not out there seeking. I still seek people of my own age to have those interesting and fulfilling conversations and mateship. It's pretty important. It gives you that balance.
So footy is probably where our conversation is mostly going to go around today. You're still playing footy?
Still playing football. Can
I ask at what age?
62.
Yeah, we don't normally ask our guests that, but I think it's relevant.
We're still actively playing
particularly this conversation.
That level. It's interesting.
Still playing. Playing actively involved.
Congratulations.
With that. Well, I keep telling my friends and my family and my children, my son and all, I said, look, there's a couple of reasons why I do it. I said, one, because I love doing it, and two, I'm good at it. So, just that kindly banter to give them that rev up. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the mateship and the what I found in life is football's ran parallel to my life and my professional career, my family.
So you've always played, obviously. Not only still playing, you've always played.
I've played since I was 6 years old.
Yeah, wow.
And whilst I've had stints overseas on assignment as an expat, I've worked with Caterpillar for over 20 odd years and based out of Singapore. I was still over there running around with the expats in the Wombats.
It'd be tough playing footy in Singapore in that humidity.
The humidity was there. The grounds weren't as generous and soft and caring as what they have. It was our old racetrack out at in Singapore, but their regular fixture was that they'd go and play up in Hong Kong or Thailand and Malaysia, and that was their away games.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I didn't get involved with those. I played at home and trained there, but I then took up soccer while I was over there with Caterpillar, the soccer team. And that got some different things, but I yearned for that. Couldn't wait. When I got back, I was over there for over 5 years, got back to Australia here and made some decisions in life and went and started playing AFL Masters again. With a club that I'd wanted to back then, and then just continued on.
So, just back to Singapore for a moment. When you were playing footy there or soccer, did they play like in the middle of the day, or did they play early morning or at night because it's so hot there in the middle of the day? No, just
a normal day.
They were just playing
a normal day.
Gee, that'd be hot run around there, I would have thought.
Well, interesting now, Brian, what they're doing is that when I come back in to put things in perspective, we've just come off the King's birthday weekend. AFL Masters, there's a lot of blokes in for Vic Metro and Vic Country, as well as overseas, go to Bali now. And they play Bali Nines or another version of it. And you've got some ex-league footballers over there that are pretty serious, and they have the competition over there. So where it used to be gazetted to play here up along the border and the Murray, different places where you'd have Vic Metro versus Vic Country, and then a few other teams that play in different times as a round robin type thing.
This is Masters.
This is Masters football.
Metro and,
So now they're getting huge numbers over to Bali. So blokes migrate over there to play 4 games in the week, to have a kick. on top of the gazetted National Carnival, which is alive and kicking too for AFL Masters football. I did mention at the start in the preamble before we started that AFL Vic Metro is the largest sporting organisation for over 35 seniors. That's men and women.
Of any sport?
Of any sport.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
And Vic Metro have the largest participation numbers.
Women as well?
For that entirety.
Yeah, but there are women masters footballers are playing as well.
Yes, yeah.
Shit.
There's two divisions. There's one with contact and there's one with non-contact for women.
Yeah.
And they're very successful. So again, a search of AFL Masters Vic Metro will give you a list of all the divisions and the sides that are playing and participating. Many clubs, as an example, there's Vic Metro and there's Vic Country. Now, I'll just pause for a moment and pivot away. Vic Country, you have a local team here representing from Torquay. Oh. They play in Vic Country.
Okay.
Vic Country is a little bit fragmented in a way. There's lots of representation. I think there's about 15 or so clubs around Victoria are either fielding a single side for over 35, so whoever turns up. So, you know, all of us could be playing from different age brackets in the one side against anyone who's over 35. But then other clubs have two sides and they've got a 35s and a 45s. Yeah, okay. So they start to put people into age brackets.
Yeah. If you've got the numbers.
But we've got the numbers in Vic Metro to have 35s, 45s, 50s, 55s and 60s.
Oh, wow.
By competition.
Yeah.
And it's quite healthy.
Yeah.
There's finals, there's best in the league comps, there's best in the Gold King, so it's quite competitive. And then you have the pinnacle of the season, which goes into a national carnival that pits itself against all the other states and territories around Australia and AFL Masters. And the carnival this year is being held up in Newcastle.
So those, I'm just thinking about those, we're all country boys, so those country clubs...
Yes.
They would be doing a lot of travel, wouldn't they? They're going to travel a lot. If there's only that number of clubs across Victoria, they're doing big distances to get a game.
Albury, Yarrawonga was just only introduced the last couple of years. I lived there not that long ago. Echuca, you've come down to Sunbury, you've come down to Melton. They're in the, I told you, Torquay.
And is it one comp for the whole state? Yeah, so you've got
those.
So Torquay playing at Albury is a fair trip.
And what they typically would do, they may very well meet at Shepparton and play the game at Shepparton.
Try and manage
those things out. But that's where you have that the problem with trying participation. Having said that, you know, there's always been commentary made about whether Vic Metro could embrace the Vic Country competition and bring that back into a more even playing field and move some of those metropolitan countrysides such as Melton and Gisborne and Sunbury into a division that they could play against, which was closer and get a greater participation.
So explain to us the concept or how the Masters works, the different rules, obviously there's age limits, or
there's age brackets in Vic Metro. So the only variant of playing AFL Masters is that they try and look after people a little bit better. So there's no use of the knee in a ruck contest, and there's no use of the knee in a marking. So you can't go and take that specky on the back of a person. So you're meant to be looking at, but you find other different ways. You're coming from the side and leaping up. So everything else is...
The rules are the same.
The rules are the same.
Okay. Tackling, full contact.
Full tackling. They've got now the last person who touched or kicked or handballed the ball out.
All the current rule changes.
All the current rule changes, they're there. We don't have the 666, but...
Everything else.
Everything else.
So that's over 35s, but there's over 55s as well.
All the same rules.
Oh, it's all the same rules.
All the way through.
All the way through.
If it's Masters, whatever level. Same rules.
And it's just, all you find is that you find a little bit slower. So we've just come off a game yesterday. I play... now I've moved from Geelong Masters back down to Brunswick Mudlarks. They play out of Royal Park, the back of Carlton Footy Ground. We played Williamstown. 60s. So, and good numbers, competitions is fierce and fighting, but blokes get clipped behind the ears and curse and cuss, and the umpires are onto it and try and look. But it's as good as anything. It does slow down, obviously, because some people tend, as they get a bit older, go to ground a little bit more. But there's blokes, like myself, have played a lot of football, different levels. Still playing. Got Tony Liberatore.
Oh, yeah.
Still kicks around, runs around.
In this
competition. So he's a Brownlow medalist. I could name, another dozen or so other blokes at the same calibre, but, they're not quite that calibre. But that level says a lot of blokes have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of them a few of them are mercenaries like myself, because I've played at a lot of clubs in my time, but that has been fulfilling as well. And there's not, when I look at how people run commentary around playing a sport or being involved with a club or a team, because it is a social level. You can come in and people have their nicknames. They have the shunter and the 8 ball and that, and a lot of people come to think and only know you by your nickname. And they won't necessarily know what your full name is or what you do for a profession or what you've done. But I know those blokes. Top blokes there, and that tends to be the running commentary for that.
So you not only get to retain the sport, the physical activity, the competitiveness, all of that, but you also get to retain that club atmosphere as a player. Because I think there's always one thing to be part of a club as a player, and always and another thing to be part of a club as a non-player. Right? I think if you're a player, you feel much more. You seem to feel, and that's why I think a lot of blokes will play as long as they possibly can.
They miss that team environment. Playing with someone, being part of a team is fantastic. And then there's all the stuff that goes around being part of a club.
Absolutely.
For both playing and non-playing, which we often talk about here, of how important clubs are, local sporting clubs. Inside how important they are for local communities. And
Brian, if you put that umbrella around, we've used those words. It's good for men's health. Men's health and well-being. It sort of encapsulates that well, because you can go along there and you can turn up and you can have a kick. And whilst I did mention that a lot of people don't know what people's full names are and things like that, there's no misconception, that there's no set rule. You can feel at ease and share whatever you want. You can have a laugh and giggle and have a big dose of Tourette's and laugh and be a bloke and carry on to within limits. I mean, things have changed over the time for the better that way. And it's a good feel-good thing. You mentioned before, the group that I run with, the Geelong Masters, the team I've been playing with for a number of years before I moved. They train Tuesday mornings. So most of us are those of us who are retired. Great bunch of blokes. We finish, have our kick, we have a laugh and curse and cuss and run our soreness out from the weekend. Go and have a cup of coffee afterwards and then just talk a little bit more about football. And it sort of creeps into other things that are happening around life in general.
And Geelong are in the Metro League, right?
That's correct.
And you mentioned the Torquay team. Is that the South Coast Sharks?
Correct.
Okay, so they play down at Janjuk. Bob Pettit Reserve, is that right?
They've been playing up here at the new footy ground.
Torquay North. Okay.
So they're going to occupy that.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
And what are they called? The
South Coast Sharks.
I confused them with the Suns.
Suns.
Yeah, but they're playing at the Suns ground now.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't know if that's. I can't confirm that's their mascot name, but South Coast.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So it'd be good to sort of. You said the mercenary, bit of a travelling Wilbury or whatever in the football.
Tell
us the journey.
Where did you start? Juniors. Let's go. What junior footy?
Junior football. Yeah. My parents. My parent. Well, I should maybe just backtrack to find out where we were. So, it's a sort of reflection of that. My father was from Bacchus Marsh. Mum was from Beaufort, Waterloo, up in the Ballarat region. Both met at Ballarat Teachers College. Fell in love, got married, and then they started doing the country assignments. So Dad got first posted out to Colac for his first teaching assignment, then went to Casterton, then came into Melbourne. And when we came into Melbourne, they bought a home out at Gladstone Park, Tullamarine, near the airport. And that's where I grew up from the year. So I moved to Gladstone Park in 1968. Okay. From that. So I was born in Casterton.
I was there a couple of weeks ago.
There you go.
I was at the Cup.
Yep.
Great horse race meeting out there at Tasman. Yeah, I was only there a few weeks ago, so I know. And I went to school in Hamilton, so I know the area talking about well. Yeah.
Well, and I only just went back there to revisit it recently as well, because I was on the front page of the Casterton News when I was born, because I was a leap year boy.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. So no wonder you're looking so good. Yeah, you're only 4 years old or whatever it is.
Yeah. So that was that, and as it turned out, where my eldest sister was born, it was in Colac. So again, then Dad captain coached the South Colac footy ground. Mm-hmm. We have a home just up the road from it, so we live between Geelong.
Yeah,
we have a townhouse down here at the near Caninian Park.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have a home down in Limonite.
Oh, in Limonite, yeah.
South Colac.
Yeah.
And we parked the caravan, and it's a bigger residential property there.
Yeah.
So between there. So come down. We moved. Dad got a teaching job at the Essendon Primary School back at Windy Hill. I loved his footy. It was pretty good in his day too.
Yeah.
Got introduced to local footy. I badgered him. Look, me mates are going down to Tullamarine Football Club. Yeah. So I started having a kick there when I was 6, and played there juniors. Played there. Club evolved. There was some another team merging. They became known as Essendon Tulla. Played there for a few years, then got picked up as a junior, 15, into had a kick with North. Back in the day. So I was at.
So is that Essendon District League?
Essendon District League.
Yeah, where you were. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pretty strong. It's pretty strong.
Back then. Back then it was even stronger. It had 3 divisions: A grade, B grade, C grade, and every team had 3 sides.
Yeah.
Seniors, reserves, and 18s, club 18s.
Very healthy. Very healthy.
And the old blokes would be running around that, and then you had your 18s, 15s, or 16s, 14s back then. So went down, got recruited down at the back end of Barassi and Slug Jordan, leaving North to go to Melbourne. Their replacement, I can't remember who was Blight or Cable, and then Shimmerbush. They were the 3 blokes there. Had 2 blokes got appointed the coaching job for the 19s, which I ended up really recruited into. Dennis Pagan was the assistant coach, and John Ibrahim was the under 19 appointed coach. So between the 2 of those, and they were all hard nuts, particularly John Ibrahim. So back in those days, it was all cursing and cussing and belittlement and beratement and questioning your parentage, your gender, your preferences, everything.
Shin bones at Arden Street.
You're at Arden Street.
Yeah, shit.
Everything but what your political ramification. Wouldn't have a clue what they were going for back then. But so got that. Went through some turbulent years, and then things happening in your life, and things are changing. Pressures of from personal thing. Made decisions that I've had enough of this. And without a doubt, you don't go on to play senior football unless things are aligned or whatnot. Did I think I was good enough? Yeah, but I wasn't ready. So it's an emotional thing. And and things were said back then is that if you couldn't take what was thrown at you in the beratement and belittlement, and they did that to the younger kids, they said you weren't going to make it. You were never going to make it.
Yeah.
So, and I saw blokes who played senior football. I thought, mate, I didn't think you would ever get a game, but you did, and you went on quite successful.
It's not always about the skill, is it, or the natural ability. It's about the perseverance and the ability and lifestyle as well. So you're coming from the country, having lived in the city, that kind of thing has completely changed.
And your body
from your
holding
family
up,
a lot of the time.
Body holding up.
There's a whole lot of different stuff that comes into play for blokes who have played, 200 games or 300 games or whatever it happens to be.
So and if I pause and maybe pivot to that, because I want to make a reference too, because those things you just mentioned, Scott, are also typically traits and behaviours that you pick up and skills you learn in a business environment. So that sort of helped me in a business sense. So what I missed out or lacked on here, I certainly picked up on the other side of the ledger from a professional career, and where I went to from there. But to come back, I had a chance then to go and play country football, played in different leagues, different clubs, started collecting jumpers, got 50 of jumpers at different home. It's where we laugh with Alan Bard now, because I've got them all on display in the garage. And just, it's good to reflect.
Have you played with 50 different clubs? Actually?
Yeah.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I used to, at times, Brian, pre-season, I hadn't determined who I was going to go and play with. I'd go and pack me footy gear with different coloured shorts and socks, and I'd go around the traps and just look for who was playing practice games and go and say, hey, listen, how are you for numbers today?
Yeah.
And go and suss them out.
You're looking for footballers,
Yeah. So then you'd work out and you'd pitch for that. So
yeah, it's fun. I did it one in my cricketing career.
Yeah.
I was moving around for work, and I had a similar experience where I turned up in Bendigo, and I had a couple of training runs with Eaglehawk, and it was the hardest cricket training I'd ever done. They trained. There's a bloke there who was training them like a football club. Yeah. They were running, they'd train until it was dark. You couldn't see the ball. Then they'd run 10Ks. And by this stage, I'm getting for 40 or something. I'm thinking I'm too old for this. I went out the road to Morong, where I ended up being recruited from back into when you and I met.
Yeah.
I just went out to Morong one Thursday night. I thought they'll be having a hit down the nets, and I walked up and just said, how you going for numbers here, guys, and that sort of stuff. And they still tell me to today I was the first and last bloke ever to walk into the Morong Cricket Club and ask for a game and actually play with the club. So it is unusual for people cold to turn up cold like you did, but you've done it with football. Interesting. And they'd be happy to have you.
And and the point that I make there is not the fact that I had the bravado to go and do it, but it also too, I was used to change, and change didn't unsettle me at all, because I'd started to get a bit of a feel for that, and to be able to adapt, and all those things that you learn are actually strengths. There's times in your life that you come against things that you think that are negative, but there's always a different spot, a positive spin on it. I'll talk about one thing. SSB Little League.
Right.
State Savings Bank. It used to be the Little League. Right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, you played the whole ground.
Yep.
There's none of this dozen little things.
So you mentioned Arden Street. I played a game on Arden Street.
There you go.
Oh, did you?
I told you I played 2 games for Richmond, didn't I?
No.
Yeah, I played 2 games for Richmond.
Oh, Little League.
They called it Big M Little League,
Big
so
M.
the Big M was the sponsor there.
God.
So I played a game at Arden Street and one on
did
MCG, and the MCG was fucking huge.
Yep.
Like we were
So you played the whole ground?
8, 9-year-old. No, it would have been. I don't know. It's probably 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
And we played the whole ground at half time. Yeah. And I reckon there was 1 or 2 goals kicked for the whole time. Yeah. And when you're that little, it's like, oh my God, how are we ever going to get it down that far?
Well, there's some things that ahead of that. I mean, the jumpers are big, the shorts are big, your boots are always polished. So before you even get in the ground, and why I use that reference is that was that Des Tutman, an ex-hard line player who from Collingwood great, came to Essendon, captain coach, and he was coaching the seniors at the time at Windy Hill. And he'd made it known that he was pretty rude and hard on his players, and he even made the paper. He made his players crawl around the ground. So he's loved and hated alike.
Do you recall the conversation we had with Ken Davis about Barry, his brother Barry, and his reflections on Tuddenham? So that's when Davis left and went to North. We spoke to. I don't know if you may or may not know, that's Ken Davis, who lives in Geelong. He's a very interesting guy in his own right, but we talked about his brother Barry, of course, who everyone who knows footy knows. And here he said that he just, when Tuddenham came there, it's like, no, it didn't work for him. No. He's quite a very, an articulate thinking sort of guy. Barry Davis was, so that's when he went over to captain their flag. So,
I think that fire and brimstone doesn't work for everyone.
No, it doesn't. They're not for everyone. No. I agree.
So I mentioned before that Dad was a primary school teacher at Windy Hill at the Raleigh Street.
Essendon Primary School.
Yeah, at the back of there, multi-story. Anyway, so we get to play Essendon Little League, so run out there, great. Feeling terrific. Half time, you're getting everyone still terped up, because back in the day they used to carry the big eskies and they would be all terped up and drunk at half time. And I'd be getting cans thrown at me. I'd play in the forward pocket, and I remember the first time I was just absolutely shell shocked and crying, and to me dad said, listen Dad, why are they throwing cans at me and so forth? He goes, well son, you're wearing number 8, which was Desi Tutman's number.
Oh wow.
So Dad gave me some kind words and suggestion what I'd do next time. So next time we played at Windy Hill, we went the same, and all the guys were into it again. So I took Dad's advice and it worked well. So what I was doing is that they're throwing the cans at me, I'd turn around and start throwing them back over the fence. And remember the fact that they were still cans. So it's a different way of looking at it, and I thought it was great. So I went from being submissive and upset while they did it to feeling pretty proud, and the crowd were revving on. So I got some loud applaud. So that's some references to how you sort of pick things in life, and how you look at things differently as well.
Yeah, I mean, times have changed a lot, haven't they? And, I've been following the local Surf Coast Suns a little bit, and one of the great things about country footy is being able to go out onto the ground at quarter time and listen to the coaches. You can't even hear the coach; he's got them all in a little huddle, and there's always the way it's done now. And I'm like, God, yell at them or something so I can hear. And it's just like, no, it's all really calm. It's all very strategic,
and it's all strategic. That's right.
They do the little sort of huddles beforehand, so that the centres and the forwards and the backs always have their own little huddles and stuff like that. That's
So you would have seen a lot of that.
I've seen a lot of that
from the old days to where it is now.
Today. And I've evolved with some of that stuff. And my picture on that when I've coached with guys recently was that I don't go in for those little group huddles and so forth. Guys, just come in here. Now, whatever you do, I preempt it. Don't you come here and start mouthing off and saying carry on, because if I can't hear your voice out there, I'll rip shreds out of your ears. Come in here, shut up, sit down, get a water into your thing, and sit down and recoup to get your body ready for the next quarter.
And then listen.
And then listen. And there's some basic things you can drill in, not overcomplicated. There's people just go on and on, and I want to and I watch from afar. You've got all these assistant coaches and these people that've got iPads and all, and talking about movements and plans. You're overloading information. It's pretty simple. If you look at some of the people who are very successful, they're pretty simple type blokes, and it comes back to those things that you sort of think. The hard thing for that too is that you mentioned before, Brian, you've got some people who are very astute and some good backgrounds and some articulate, and then you've got some brutal people that just love to be bash and crash and everything in between. How you manage those, that becomes the people leadership.
You need a bit of flexibility, don't you? You can't, one approach is not going to suit them all. Each player needs their own. A good coach will work out, what player's going to respond to best, what they need.
Correct.
And they're all different, aren't they, each player?
Well, I guess, as much people management it is the old coaching style too, because you have to recognise different personalities these days. Everyone is used to being a little bit more mollycoddled. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but aren't they? People are used to not being yelled at all the time,
and told what to do,
punished for doing the wrong thing.
Which you would have, back in the day, young kids, when we were kids and that, the coaches did tell you what to do and shout it and stuff.
We got ridiculed. I mentioned before, we got ridiculed, and we learnt how to fight as well. So, the things that we learnt growing up in the game of football, I'm not saying it's right, it's been cleaned up, it's wonderful from that point. But you had to learn how to fight. The better you were, the better you need to be more aware of your peripheral visions around that, and you had to think about it. And again, you had to be quite skillful on both sides of your body. I see that in the game nowadays, and it's worrying that I'm seeing a lot of that at such a high level. When you look at the AFL, a lot of players do not know how to use either side of their body, be it by foot or by hand, don't know the bag of tricks of the different kicks, the punch, the drop kicks, the stab passes, the torps, and don't display those too.
Leading and marking, you hardly even see forwards leading anymore, let alone high marking. It's such a different game. It's a game of midfielders.
Yes.
Pretty much.
For sure.
It's really a game of midfielders, isn't it? From front to back, quick, fast, in and under, and then, the rucks and the rovers and the keys have really got, well, this is just an observation from somebody who hasn't played footy for 50 years, Rod, but for me, all of that seems to have, it's a very different game.
It is, and if you only have to watch, let's take our local team with Geelong, and you watch them play, you can see the set out in the ground. The entire team would be down the ground, and you look up in the forward, and they're not there.
But that's even in country footy now. It's not just in AFL.
They're all playing the same game.
I've been watching these games, and there's no one in the back half anymore, or the back third at least. Anyway, there's no one past the centre half back line anymore if the board's in the opposition forward.
So you get this we sort of, complain about it too much. We'll get onto the AFL in a minute, and then we have a real complaint. But because we both love footy, we love footy. But the game is so different to the way we grew up playing it. But you sort of when possession changes, there's nowhere to go with the ball. So you get this period in all the games. When there's a change of possession, they hold up. So they go back and they go somewhere. It's like it is a bit frustrating as a spectator to watch compared to the old days, the more open game, end-to-end game. I think So
it is interesting because I thought going back watching local footy, because I've sort of been working weekends fairly consistently for about 10 years. So I've finally got my weekends back. So I've started watching the Suns, like I said, the new club here. And I expected to see a bit more of the old school kind of tactics, but it's not.
It's the same
very much following it.
They've mirrored image the VFL, AFL over the time. They just do that. Gone are the days of the one-on-one contested.
Yes,
so we want you, we want the two of you. Look, right, I want you to tag Scott. You're the fullback. Scott's the gun full forward.
He's a forward.
You're playing him.
Yeah, man. Wherever he goes, you go.
Yeah, and use pockets. You stay away from him. Keep his feet. Yeah. So the whole focus is we're going to bring the ball down. We're going to look for Scott.
Yeah.
Right. So we had the contest. So people look forward to that. Yeah. The Tony Rockets, the Dunstals, the Peter Hudsons. You just roll them off. You loved and thoroughly enjoyed that because you had the big marks and the return key results and the key players.
And the beautiful goal kicking as well. Consistent. We don't see goal kicking like we used to either.
Kick around the corner now.
It's ugly to look at, but they can't kick long straight goals like McKenna, Hudson, Wade, Quinn, those guys. They're just unbelievable. Hudson in particular, I'm not sure what he only kicked 9 out of 10 or something. Hudson hardly ever missed a goal with his torps, flat punts,
flat punts.
Hey, flat punts. He used to kick horrible looking kick, but you don't see that same accuracy these days. It's a different game.
So then, Brian and Scott, when you look at whilst we're talking about football, and I'm a participant in a great game at a certain level, but it's still community based. You start to think about our society's changed as well. As people want more quick results. Recognition. Attention spans are short. So when you think about the example we spoke about, the one-on-one full-back and full-forward sitting there, they'd sit up the other end and nothing had happened for quite some time in a quarter.
Yeah.
But they don't want to nowadays. They don't want to stand there. They want to be. They want to be involved.
Yeah.
So they need to be, active. They need to be doing something. That's their sense of urgency. So things have changed that way. Yeah. We look at what it's like in society. I think about the evolution of, from my professional career. I come from some humble backgrounds. I got directed into TAFE college back then, technical school.
Yeah. Yep. We're all tech school boys.
Tech school.
There you go. So what was the schools?
Hamilton Tech.
Kangaroo Flat.
Kangaroo Flat. Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Hillcrest College. I say that with
that sounds a bit posh.
It is. Broadmeadows West Technical School.
That sounds more like us.
Posh.
I found myself in
West Tech. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
I found myself in a forum doing a speaking engagement with Caterpillar, the product support forum. There's 300 miners globally, and we're doing because I was involved with product support for Caterpillar, the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, based in Singapore for Asia Pacific, doing a spiel, and they wanted to talk about life and what you're doing, where you achieved, and I happened to mention, look, I've gone through and done my, attended school at Hillcrest College, and I went on to I studied my masters in tertiary qualifications with postgraduate qualification, I should say, whilst I was working. And a miner came up to me after, he goes, "Hey mate," I said, "Where I come from, there's no Hillcrest College, it's Broadie West Tech, mate. I'm on the end." So we had a good giggle with that one. I said, "I can't bullshit a bullshit, can I?" So went through that, and look, I didn't know where life was going to head. I found myself, typically being pigeonholed into that. You go to a technical school, you're meant to go and do a trade.
Trades, yeah.
Got picked up as a job at Ansett Airlines as a fitter in the workshops up at Tullamarine there. Yeah. Started doing that, and I think, oh, geez, I don't like this. I'm a bit of a prima donna, but in a workshop, machining, lathes and mills and cutting. This really isn't me. But anyway, I had a fortunate turn of events with the airline industry when they closed that business down. And made a lot of people redundant, and I had a chance to put my hand up as voluntary, but under a forced redundancy package.
Yeah.
What that gave me at the time was a financial windfall, which gave me a chance to pay off a mortgage. My son was only 12 months at the time. And
so this is Ansett folding you're talking about? When Ansett folded,
just before they folded completely. So they wanted to downsize. I went over to Caterpillar.
Oh, yeah.
Just down the road.
Yep.
Yeah. Caterpillar's at the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, not the dealer level, but at the parent company.
Yeah.
And joined them. Got picked up in there, and my career went off, and I picked up various roles and started to get into logistics, set up distribution centres around the globe with Cat Logistics, because companies started in the automotive space. All the automotive companies started to come to Caterpillar and said, you have this global service network where you provide parts, you've got distribution networks, you've got systems, process, procedures, facilities, transportation. Would you consider thinking about outsource and helping us outsource back at the time? So Cat Logistics set up a division long before what we know to be the tolls and TNTs and all the people who do it now, third-party logistics. We were doing it then. So I was at the right place at the right time. Things started to interest me all of a sudden. I had promotion after promotion. I did some training as a training facilitator. Then I became a manager within the logistics side. Started then design, planning, and building facilities around the globe. They tapped me on the shoulder and said, listen, I think we better get some qualifications so it goes on your resume to match. I said, Jesus, I left tech school at Form 5 and I've got my trade certificate. I'm an indentured tradesman. Said, no, we need to get that. So I then embarked on doing that on top of, your normal day-to-day job. So I got postgraduate qualifications in that area. And then I've seen the world and built facilities and pined for football.
So I was going to ask about that. So you're obviously travelling a fair bit with work, and football's obviously very important to you. How are you managing to play football? You just had to put it on hold for a while?
No, what you do is when you're actually going through with your checked-in luggage, you've got a football in there as well. So I've bounced more footballs in hotels and going everywhere. I've run the streets in India and China, Dubai.
Handball.
So even if you're not playing organised games, you're still running around with a football.
Getting ready.
Kick,
and I'd try and work it out that I'd be back. There's one time I was in Dubai, running around my room with the footy, jumping on the bed and so forth, and then lining up to play in a grand final with Oak Park back in the time.
Because there'd be expats playing footy in Dubai anyway, I bet.
That was in Dubai. No, coming back to Australia.
Oh, yeah, but coming back here to play. I just think, I bet there's probably a footy comp going on in Dubai now. I don't know about a Masters one, but they'd be playing footy there because there's a lot of Aussies there.
So we're still doing that. And why I say I've really held on to the football side, because it's really been the escape. It's, you go there and, as you both would experience with going to the club with your cricket, you go there and you get, you can carry on a bit of a bloke and pork chop, and you have a giggle and you poke fun and you say all these funny things and you escape and you forget for a moment with whatever your concerns, your trials, your tribulations you may be going through. It brings you down. You forget. You forget where you are.
Sport's great like this, and we've said before on this podcast, I'm sure, that one of the experiences I had, when I was sort of middle management and in some pretty important roles, I played cricket until I was 50. And when I was on the cricket field, whether I was batting or in the field, work never crossed I can never once remember ever work or any other issue crossing my mind other than cricket when I was on the cricket ground. It's fantastic for that. It's great for your mental health. Any sport. Just, I don't know, you just don't have time if you're loving your sport, whatever it is. Nothing else comes into your mind. Didn't for me. It's really healthy.
And Brian, that thing, and I'm glad you've laboured on that point about good for your mind, because what is it makes you good as a person. So when you do come back home, you're a better husband, father, dad, mate, neighbour, whatever. The case. And that's the thing that sort of grounds you. And as I said to you, people wouldn't even know half the time what you've done, where you've been, and so forth, unless you ask those questions. And you sort of you can pick up where people are, and you can also pick up all the nuances about the body language. The roles you've had with I've been very fortunate. The education process that I've been taught through with Caterpillars. I was there over 25-year period, at different times I'd gone in. I'd worked on that many projects and special projects and worked in every continent and country and many places. But you come across people and you can pick up all the different nuances. And when we talk about how I think I've been people ask, how have you been successful in your work when you've been responsible for working in the Asia Pacific theatre region? Because I've got tolerances. We're all, particularly those of us who are a lot older, we were brought up in an era where there was bias and prejudice and so forth. We haven't forgot what they are, but over time we've got better educated and understanding. And we're I wouldn't say the word tolerant, but not for a better word, but you understand where I'm coming from. So when I say things like people's choices now, or even the fact that we've got women's football and so forth, I think it's wonderful. You've had all the naysaying, all the typical blokes of so forth. Wonderful. Our society that we're starting to recognise, we've got more and more. In the early days, women were part of the affirmative action target, where they said we've got to have a certain percentage of women in certain roles within an organisation, just to tick the box. Whilst initially people had their backs up, how else are they going to learn or not? And now we've seen that paradigm shift to have smart, clever people, not just being stereotyped with their gender, but smart, clever people.
Now they've had the opportunity to get engaged and have a go. They've developed into those roles. The other thing I was thinking when you were speaking, Rod, think about our childhood. Scott, I'm out in Hamilton, Western Victoria. You're in Bendigo. You're in the city, slightly different, but you've spent time in the country. The diversity of people in the world that we now know of and that we now enjoy the company of and the stories of. As a kid, we didn't see any of that. I never met black fellas or Asian people or Islam was never even completely unknown to me growing up out there in Western Victoria. Bendigo's not a very multicultural sort of place.
I mean, it wasn't back then, no, for sure. I mean, it was very white, very middle class. A lot of retired farmers living there.
Very conservative.
I did spend a few years in Melbourne, out at Mount Waverley. I remember having a Sri Lankan friend that were right into cricket, and I remember going to their house and the smells of the food. It was like nothing I'd ever. And I had a Chinese friend as well, and it was the same sort of thing. The really interesting pictures on the wall. And the food and stuff. It was just, it was quite eye-opening. That was a very small period of my life, and then it was back to Bendigo. It was all just, it was all just bland and white.
And once you've had a fantastic opportunity, Rod, to get out, and you've worked, not only seen the world and travel, which we've travelled a bit and seen it, but you've actually been in those places and worked in those places too, which is...
The world is also too full of their bias and bigotries as well. So when you're talking about that, the Chinese hate the Indians, the Indians hate that, the dragon versus the lion. You talk about the different submissive stuff. The white Anglo-Saxon. We refer to as the Gualos or the Ungmos. The long-nosed devil. And things of that nature. So they have those things, those reservations. The thing that I've been fortunate enough to be able to be exposed to and learn over that particular time is an understanding, appreciation who people are, and to draw on that. You have to be more so too mindful of how people act and behave and the way they go about things. It's pretty hard to break that cycle, particularly in the caste system in the likes of India. To be able to think, I had a guy who worked for me as a consultant. I had a consultant in different parts of the region, and I was based in headquarters in Singapore. A guy out of India, and I found out a lot of times that just by word of mouth or just ask the question, he used to leave home 8 hours away, leave his wife and his family 8 hours away, and catch the various buses and trains just to get into the office in Chennai, and do his whole day's work. And a lot of times there'd be long days, and he'd do that cycle back, and when he'd get back he's only got a couple of hours.
Wow.
And
the vast majority of the time of the day was commute, and then if not working, and then sort of no family time. And it's unimaginable, isn't it? I've done a bit of commuting into the city to work, but nothing like that. Nothing like that.
And then I get to say, just said, right, okay, I don't want you to be based here. I want you to be based in our distribution centre, which is an hour away from your home. I said, I'd like you to do that. And unbeknownst to me, thinking that's going to be a great commute, he can get spend more time with his wife and family, that was going to be not appropriate for him because he'd lose face.
Right.
Because he wasn't working in the big smoke.
You need to be in that.
Oh, really?
Having a job in the big smoke was a big deal for him.
Yes.
So he was going to say he was have a lot of time commuting, all of that kind of thing, but it wasn't, on the face of it, it wasn't the same as working in the city.
So they're the things you sort of pick up, and from our point of view, I mean, typically with this, the Americans are bombastic, and I worked for an American company with Caterpillar. They're gung ho and patriotic and goddamn golly and that. And they've got a lot of good qualities, but the best team is made up of different people from around the globe. And we've got our own traits. We're pretty quick to hit the tall poppy. That don't get out of your lane, mate.
Cut the tall poppy down.
If you might be the Prime Minister, but your name's Bob or Elbow, your nickname, or any of that. You're in line. I was in front of you, so you wait before I get mine. That's horrified into other different cultures, but that's a uniqueness of us. But then again, you overlay it, and you see of our First Nations people and Indigenous thing. And I think that's a wonderful growth. There's some ways of looking at that. There's some good, bad, and different things that everyone has an opinion on. I'd personally like to, you come across and you think, okay, I'd like to see that as part of a curriculum. As an enforcement. As kids, you get to school, the primary school, first thing you did Monday morning is get up in an assembly.
God save the Queen.
God save the bloody Queen. And all those things you weren't aware of. And there's some of those behaviour. We learnt stuff that was useless.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much stuff we should have learnt that we didn't. Aboriginal culture is one that we should learn. Our kids should be learning. I'm assuming that's a lot more in there than there was when we were at school, but it's still probably not enough. Even Australian history as far as World War II. What happened with the Japanese bombing Darwin? We were never taught that.
Australian history, geography, more Australian geography, social history,
financial literacy. That's something that's never taught to kids in school. It should be taught to kids in school. I mean, I have my theories on why they don't teach kids that sort of thing. They don't necessarily want independent thinkers, and it's probably why they don't fund universities and stuff as well as they should, because independent thinkers are harder to manage if you're a government. But anyway, we'll leave that one. We won't get into that. But you're right. There's a lot more we could be doing as a society because you mentioned that word education before, and I think a lot of bigotry and racism and whatever else comes from a lack of education.
Small education often. Sometimes they don't lie. It doesn't have to be formal education. That's part of it. But just
teaching people the consequences.
Getting out of your comfort zone, visiting other places, learning about other things.
If you say that word to that person, it's going to hurt them for this reason. It's not like the excuse, it's just a word, who cares? It's just a word. I didn't mean anything by it. It's like, well, okay, maybe you didn't. Maybe you did. But this is the reason why that word is hurtful to that person and why you shouldn't use it, So it all comes down. And you talked about a place like China or whatever, where they have certain attitudes towards, white people or foreigners that we would consider racist. But, these are countries that have particularly large areas with very lack of education, great poverty. You go to countries that do have education, but you go to the less educated areas, that's where the racism is going to be
ethnic diversity,
and more ingrained, isn't it?
It's sad, when people look at the world events, what we're facing with now. The Ukraine war is partly significant because there's a new show in town, and we're down the straits and bombing the hell out of Iran and everywhere else is going on. I mean, back in as a young bloke, the only thing that we saw really was in Ireland. Protestants and Catholics. And they they're going hell for leather and between the Poms.
Before Vietnam, probably, you're right. And then Vietnam.
Then Vietnam came after that.
Certainly my sort of thinking through that, the sort of Second World War was done and dusted. That's not far. Our parents' generation. But after that, the Korean War, I don't remember anything about. But then it was more, the troubles in Ireland were always on our mind, probably because of our British focused too.
Yeah,
We're looking that way. You know, all the British English news was new, so that was that. And then Vietnam was the one that got closer to us. You know, I had a brother-in-law older than me who served.
And Vietnam was televised too. So
and then you've got TV and stuff too. But
that made a big difference to people perception that the war is basically in their lounge room. Yeah.
So Rod, I'm interested, given everything you've done and you're still doing, but particularly with your very diverse professional life around the world. You know, what do you make of us as a species, human beings? You've seen them all over the world. You know we're a bloody weird mob, aren't we? In a way, yeah. You know, how do we reconcile who we are and how we go on? Do you reckon?
If I said to you that the Americans are the modern day Romans, it starts to paint a picture about someone's always wanted to dominate.
Yeah.
And the Spaniards, and then you know, Rule Britannia. Everyone's wanted to dominate someone and then create a stamp to say we're better educated. And we're going to take that what we want. I mean, you know, Australia's a good example. Of, you know, we're going to take this, and it's white Australia. But we're fighting over. We'll use excuses with you know, religion. Is a big thing, or taught behaviours, or things that people have held on to, and nothing's changed over there. We've got better at fighting, and we've got more. We've invented technology. There's other things that have enabled people to carry out the same things that were done a long time ago.
Have been done forever. Yeah, it's been done more efficiently and effectively now on a different scale, probably. But
and whilst we sort of bounced around with Brian and Scott before about, you know, where I started, and I've seen a lot of things. Things have changed, you know, but it's the same sort of things there. Things that I mentioned before about, you know, we were growing up, particularly, you know, from my era, there was racism and bigotries and things of that state. We were taught those, and they would just laugh, and you'd say words that were known hurtful, and you say a word, and all of a sudden you know you want to, that makes someone offensive. You say that to generations now that they just, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been taught that. You know, back in our era, excuse me, smoking, there's no seatbelts. You know, you throw your rubbish out the thing, out the window.
No breathalyzer.
No breathalyzer. You know, mum and dad. You know,
it's not long ago. It sounds like 100 years ago, but it's like, I know, it's in living memory. You know, it's amazing.
I converted over. I'm old enough to be involved with. We had the black and white TV long before colour came in. And if you had a TV, you're doing it right. Then, you know, if you had a colour TV, you were rich. And but there's some simple things in life, and we've travelled enough, and we've my wife and myself, we've moved around a lot. So every 3 to 5 years, we've sort of moved to another place. We sort of transit from that because we enjoy the opportunities to see something different. We've typically lived in two homes. The place, as I said, mentioned in Geelong, we have our home in a Limonite, and we live between the two places, and it's completely chalk and cheese. It gives you that different zest for life. I mean, you know, I'm sort of doing I don't need to go to a caravan and do the grey nomad, sit around and the blokes sit over there and do as they're told, and the wives all have a cackle around that stuff. No. Where I'm coming to, how it's become a tune, the things that I've been taught and been I'll say privileged, may over exaggeration, but what I've learned in my professional career, particularly with Caterpillar, is I got taught lots of things. You know, I got taught how to walk into a room, you know, prepare for a meeting, what to wear. You know, I watched the blokes and said, okay, he's on the power, he's wearing the red tie, he's going submissive, got blue and different things, and I'll tell you who the decision makers are because we got taught that. You know, got taught how to, you walk in a room, this is probably the exception, I always walk in a room, got taught, when you walk in a room, make sure that you can see anyone else can come into that room. Yeah. And then when you're in there, how you get out. Yeah. And then how many weapons you can use to defend yourself if need be. I say over-exaggerate. I've played that card a few times, and I come up with a guy, now how many we got in here? He goes, this, that, and then he goes, and a Scotch finger biscuit. Because we had biscuits on the table. That's a good laughing point. I said, you know what, you're right. You know, you can throw it at someone and blur the vision, but that's over-exaggerate. What I'm alluding to is more about you're picking up people's non-verbals, their body language and so forth, and your attunement. So when you meet somebody for the first time, when you see some people around you, I'm more attuned to what's going around because of what I've been taught. So I'm aware. You can see when someone's, upset or not necessarily agreement, or they're just comfortable. That whole thing about body language, about you're crossing your arms, and I know you're comfortable, or you're looking for something else, or the words that someone may say. You can pick up some little nuances. So that's one of the things when I come back to football, you go and pick up, hey mate, how you going? Look, I know things are going on, but
you can see their struggle.
What's going on?
You can see something's not right. Something's not right in their behaviour or their body language, which might explain why they're not performing well on the field. Or
And who cares about that? If they are from that point of view.
Yeah.
But you got a genuine interest in people.
Yeah.
Because.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of sales in my career, and so you do learn things like that. I haven't had formal training in it, but you kind of get to pick it up. You were talking about working for Caterpillar. In what situation are you in a room like that? What is your role? Why to be needing to pick that up in people's behaviour? You've obviously got a role that needs you to know how people are going to react to what's being said or whatever.
My progression through the time there, I reached quite senior ranks within the group, various roles. There is situation where you'd get taught you'd be coming in for reporting up into vice presidents, and you would be a nominated observer. So that's where you sat around away from the board table. So you see all the board members and the people, the nodders.
So your job was to maybe observe. And take note or take mental notes and then report back.
And then as you go up, you're in front. And you've got your reservists, so your progression, your career, you become the front person, and you're standing there. And I laugh about when I see a lot of the politicians on the front. I'd love to be at the front there, and as being interviewed. Now, Scott and Brian, are these guys nodding behind? Aren't they? They are nodding, aren't they? Yeah. Come on, you guys, stop! You're making me look stupid on television.
Yeah.
So you pick up that, and you can, and humour's a good way of breaking the ice, but also getting your point home. You can use those natural scallywag traits that we have as Australians, and we've learned. We have a bit of a giggle.
That informality sort of,
Getting people's guards down a little bit. They're not expecting it. Yeah.
And you would have seen a lot of that too with the people that you've come across and you've invited into your home here to talk to about their life and what they're doing and what they've experienced, and no different to myself from that point. But it's another person's society. So whilst I didn't answer it completely, the question you asked about what do I see about what's changed, it's just basic. Nothing's changed as far as I'm concerned. There's been a dog eat dog world, but they've tried to wrap it up in a different package, different word. There's things that are happening in the environment. I haven't worked at Caterpillar for now 15 years. I've been I've been doing consultancy, and maybe I'll touch on that because that has some other I think important things that I felt pretty proud about doing. But they have given me a good grounding to be able to take out and do some things I never even thought in a wildest dreams I'd achieve. And we'll get to that to the end question, and it's irrelevant. It didn't. I already had an answer before you even came in because it's on the top of that script, and I've spoken to people about my journey in life. But I've come out of that, and I thought, look, there's got to be more to life. I was in a club lounge in an airport somewhere in the world at one stage. I was 47, and I'd calculated roughly that I'd spent 5 years of my life on a plane or in transit somewhere in the world. So when you leave home, start the clock. Taxi, airport, fly, commute into the meeting room, stop. So once where the meeting's held here or somewhere, that didn't count. But when you start, there's a lot of unnecessary transient stuff, and you lose a lot of stuff. I've lost a lot of opportunities, but that's what you have to sacrifice. When you're young, you're developing your career, you're going up the corporate ladder, you have to sacrifice. It's at the back end, we get to enjoy our grandkids, your kids and your grandkids in a different way. And still play footy.
So, still keep playing footy,
And but I've used that to work with people. Now I came out of that and said, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. So pulled the pin, I did go back a couple of times at request, but I found myself then saying, no, I'm going to go out and work with people. So word of mouth, I've worked with people on a fee-for-service type basis and charge them a bloody arm and a leg. I basically go and look at operations and their businesses and see where I can help, and more times than not, I can do that.
Yeah.
I've worked with people that with end of life, and some families that there's been sudden deaths with no succession planning.
Okay.
And I've just stepped in and said, okay, I'd like to help.
Okay,
I'd like to explore that more.
Yeah.
So how do you get to that point from corporate life?
So when I've come out of that, you built up all these skill sets and all this knowledge and there's this level. I've worked with industry bodies and defence forces and that around, but I come back to those two things. A friend of my wife I'd known for years, and he was in logistics, and we got to meet him. He'd ended up having passing away with cancer, and he was terribly upset that it was something that wasn't controllable or treatable. And I helped him with end of life over several months to get his mind off what he was doing, and the family said. I used to say, your family love you, and they'll tell you the things that they think you want to hear, but that's all. That's just another cross for you to burn, and you just want to cope with, what am I going to do? What's my legacy? And I don't use that word lightly. I just throw it in for a point. Everyone wants to leave a legacy. They want a legacy. If you only remember my name, that's a legacy.
Yeah.
If you only remember my name and something I did, great. If you remember anything more than that, well, aren't I lucky? And we've seen some examples of high-profile people, but it's not just Neil Danaher that gets an opportunity to leave a legacy. Brian and Scott, we get to leave a legacy in some way, and you're doing it with the things that you do.
Well, I think that this is part of what I love about this podcast is we're recording people's stories.
Yeah.
And whether that's whether you consider that part of someone's legacy or not, or whether it's just that story may never get been recorded because the person's not famous. They're not, they're just doing good things in their life, in their community, and nobody's reporting on it. So to be able to record those for prosperity, I think I think it's really
a
cool.
legacy.
Yeah.
So we come to this particular individual. What I then did is I set up and said, okay, we're going to have a structure. What we're going to do, where I am, every Tuesday, we're going to have a meeting, and I'm going to run it like it's going to be a board meeting. And you're going to report to me. Here's the agenda. Your health and your update. I want to hear what the doctor said to you about your health and what medication you're on. I want you to tell me.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not your family member, but I want you to tell me that. Then I want to tell me about your diet. What's interested you? What have you been able to eat and consume? I want a recipe. So you can start to see where I'm getting to. I'm getting the person's mind focused in on some structure as opposed to being all over the place and the devastation that must be. All I can show is some empathy. I don't understand because I obviously haven't gone through it myself. And then we said, okay, milestones, the walks and things like that. So we ran it like that. I was running our Tuesday meetings and I'd be in a club lounge or I'd be at home or somebody else. And, we finished that off and getting towards the end, he said, I want my name to be remembered. I said, what's your legacy? And Ron was his name. He had spent a number of years at Toll with Paul Little and all that. He was at the head of the time. He says, I want you and Paul Little to speak at my funeral, as well as my brother-in-law.
Okay.
And I said, well, Jesus, that'd be a bit of an invasion from my point of view, but I don't think you can fit Paul and me in the same room at the same time. But
Take me, don't worry about Paul.
So it's him or me to thing. So we speak with that. So we've had that said and done, and we helped him through that progress and put together the things he needed to button up and close up his business and get things ready. I said, look, I'm not going to delve in your finances, but you need to get these things done, particularly for your wife and and the family members, to do those things. Another example. Now, that's my own cost. There's no fee for service. There's and then on the flip side, sudden death of a family member. Family member who had no succession planning, had successful business.
Yep.
I just jumped in and said, listen, I'm going to take a month off leave from work. I was working with a company,
Yep.
and I'll come in and run your business, get it set up, because there's too many things that hadn't been done, or what there was directorships and shareholding and so forth. Yeah. Put those things in place, kept it there so it could be run without them even knowing half of what was to be done. Those other individuals brought into the business with licenses and qualifications, put them in place, and people said, well, what'd you get out of it? I said, well, you don't know how much I get out of those two. They're two examples I've given you. The amount that I get out of it personally,
money can't buy.
Money can't buy that.
Yeah.
And that situation, that second one you're talking about there, obviously the family, the people close to him weren't engaged in the business to an extent where they knew what to do.
Sons didn't know. No. Sons didn't want to follow in the progression of his father.
So what a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Oh, it would be a mess.
So I've jumped into those sort of things. Word of mouth, I'm with a group of people that, through a football sense, we have what I refer to as the coffee mafia. It's a way of networking with a few of us.
Yep.
Business leaders and successful and some terrific blokes in Geelong. One bloke, Wayne Allen, he runs a successful business, Workplace Alliance in Geelong. He's been successful there. We've got a Right Honourable Gavin O'Connor, the ex-MP out of Parliament. He's still involved with that. Yeah. And there's a few of us that are involved with that. We get around, we talk about how things are going, progressing, and opportunities to jump in to help people and placement. So I said, okay, well, is there a chance maybe if you introduce me to that particular business over here? Tell them I'm a consultant. As an example, Carbon Revolution, we did some work. Now, Carbon Revolution, you're familiar with them? Yeah. They're out at Deakin University. Success story. They've made carbon fibre wheels for all of the high-end motor car companies, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all that. Wow. Great success story.
Geelong business?
Geelong business.
Wow.
Lab Rats, Carbon Revolution.
Okay.
They're in administration at the moment.
Oh, okay.
They got too big and things and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But they were going through an exponential growth and they had no idea. And we had input that they were working. Had 500 employees.
Sure.
24/7 shift, multiple things, producing these carbon fibre. 40% wastage in product. So they really didn't have their process. But, these wheels cost a monty.
They're premium, obviously premium product, so they could carry the waste.
But they'd grown through this and they hadn't had the proper placement. So those lab rats who were very good intention were now out of their depth. Yeah. We got in under the pretense of doing some reviews of their business to be able to give some recommendation to be able to do that and to stop. And hopefully the intent was to go in there to so they wouldn't make some dumb decisions by getting some mid-career hires, managers that come in and say, what you do is you close this down, you move offshore and you get it for cheaper rates and this and that. Yeah. So our whole intent was that, I was living at Anglesey at one time when I came back from Singapore and Melbourne, and I just seeing all these closures in Geelong. The Ford Motor Car Company, other places were closing down. There's just another one. I said, well, how can we get in? So we got together a few people from a football club who had some business smarts and savviness and good people. Said, listen, how can we use all our smarts, call ourselves the Coffee Mafia, we'll create a board, we get a business and we'll go after it and see where we can help people.
Yeah, fantastic.
Now, it's not all about that. There's some fee for service associated with that too. Yeah. But I come back and it's maybe a long-winded talk that we had before about what can we do to leave a legacy.
Help some businesses.
Help some businesses and people. And what do you get out of it?
Yeah.
I can say that now.
Yeah.
I know that now.
Yeah.
What the thing is, because I lost my father at 51, too young. I've lost a lot of friends and mates through that journey as well. And you got to start to see things. I've been very fortunate that I've been able to pick that up and have been attuned to all these things, the life lessons. So my professional career mimics my football career, which gives me a good balanced perspective on life. It's not just about having a kick and how successful and collecting some jumpers and old footy boots and the journey and the evolution. As we come back to that, there is an evolution of everything we do. I brought in some examples of some Guernseys and footy boots. You can see the evolution of the footy boot from the old 7 stud
studs, yeah.
nail-in.
Nailings.
Yeah.
Old boots to the colourful ones and those things to lace up jumpers to that. It's an evolution. It's changed. It's still a bloody jumper and a colour.
Yeah.
I reckon my first boots had they were leather nail-in. Yeah,
These
they were made of leather, pieces of leather, and then they were cut to shape.
Yeah.
Separate pieces of leather,
Correct.
and they nailed into a leather sole. The old boots, came up above your ankle.
Yeah, right.
Well, I've had those.
the
They were my
60s.
grandfather's from time back, and I religiously wore them once a year in one game. It was always wet, but it had the leather. Apart from having the leather lock-in stops, which I had to convert to screw-ins.
Yes, yeah,
But still at the same side pattern, and it had a leather hard nose like a safety boot.
yeah, yeah.
So I had to pull them out after time because it was getting too bloody.
Yeah.
But I've kept them, and the irony to that is that I look at that and I reflect back on the time. It's just a good chance to reflect back on the times and all the things that happened. I had him in the garage the other day, and the wife came out and said, "Oh, look, you better tell your son what he's going to do with those jumpers, and you're going to have all this stuff and footy." I said, "How about stop for a minute? How about you ask me a question that?" What are your most fondest memories about that?
Hang on a
Ask me
minute.
question.
Just go back a step.
Which one did you like? Where did you most successful? I said, well, I got leather poisoning at this club, and hardly got a kick over here, and everything in between. So, different way of looking at things.
Yeah, I just think on those leather stops that I just mentioned, Scott. Like there's a ritual used to go with that as well.
Yes.
So back in the day, which Scott won't know about,
No.
you probably do because you're a bit of a football historian, I can see as well. But so as a kid, when we were doing that, you'd, before the game, the umpire would come in and run his hands over your stops.
We had that even when I played.
Did they do that?
We didn't have the leather stops.
Without the
but
leather-
you always had the
nylon.
umpire come and check everyone's.
Did they come and check the nylon
to make
stops
sure you
anyway?
didn't have any something dodgy going on?
Yeah, because I'm thinking,
Yep.
And your fingernails.
And your fingers.
Yes,
so no
that's true
rings.
too,
Yeah,
yes.
so they
Yeah,
did
that's
that even
true.
with the nylon
Yep,
stops.
yep.
Yeah.
So I thought it was ostensibly in those days to make sure that, because the nails, if you didn't have them, how many the nails would be sticking out of your leather.
I don't know if it was just a hangover from that ritual, whether it was because they were worried people putting dodgy stops in for whatever, like sharp stops to do damage, or what it was.
Whether
But
some of
every
those
game,
nylon stops wore to a sharp
Yep.
edge, maybe.
That was the
potentially.
case. So the nylon things, because most kids would be running around on the concrete, and we'd never had these fancy races with grass that you could, and they
so
would
they
wear,
might
and they'd
wear
burr up on the edge.
Yeah, so it had a sharp edge.
Yeah.
So the trainer would always have a file.
Yeah.
So he'd use the file to take the edge off
the nylon stops.
the nylon stop.
Yeah.
And if your fingernails happen to be long, probably give them a bit of a lacking too. So
Yeah. Oh, you talk about the evolution of boots and the turning into coloured boots. I was watching, I don't know, I never watched kind of YouTube videos on my phone for whatever reason. I was watching some highlights of Warwick Kappa and some of his great grabs.
yes, yeah.
And I must have been chuckling and
shorts.
just like, what are you laughing at? And I'm like, well, Warwick Kappa, but he had the white boots.
Yeah.
Everyone else on the ground had black boots. Right now, you don't see anyone with black boots.
No.
Very rare. There's very few people with black boots. They're all got
And all other
fluoro
colours
and
other
all
than
sorts of
white.
pink and whatever and white.
That's right.
Whereas Kappa had these white boots and he stood out. He was the only one that had the white boots. He didn't care. He would have copped a lot of stick for it, but he didn't care.
Yeah, didn't worry.
well,
part of his-
one of your most famous Bendigo produce, Phil Carman.
Phil Carman.
He started it, and
that's right.
and then Dermot Brereton picked up on that afterwards.
of course.
But you go back, Phil Carman, and I was actually his last club was North Melbourne. And
AFL club,
AFL.
VFL.
But Kangaroo back at
He went back to Kangaroo Flat, didn't he? Yeah,
but he went from Collingwood. He went to Melbourne, Essendon, North Melbourne. And then he finished up. And I remember I had a we'd lived in Yarrawonga a number of years back, a few years back, thinking that we're going to park the van there and then do the Grey Nomad and head off before bloody COVID hit us for the second time running. And a local bloke who is does all the pools up that way. We thought we'll put a pool in up here because it's bloody hot up there, and so I went knocking and got this bloke, and I said, I know you. He goes, I know who you are, and I go, oh yeah. So as it turned out, we were both playing at North Melbourne because Albury was back in there was zones.
Yep.
So you had different zones. So Albury up that border.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Was zoned to things. So he said, I know you. I said, mate, I've got. So and he ended up giving me producing a footy record. So I've got a footy record of all plays, and we go through those times, and our names are on there, obviously in the support teams. But in there you got Carmen, Dempsey, Keith Gregg, Schimmelbusch's, all these. There's 4 Brownlow medalists there alone. Yeah. And you start to think about the high caliber of individuals and what it used to look like back then, and Phil was the exception. You talk about a mercenary. I come back to myself. I sat in dormant in a particular job as a mechanic with Ansett for 10 years, and then took a redundancy. That's all I knew. That's all I thought I was going to do. Work in a workshop and for even a day. Moving over to Caterpillar, opportunity after opportunity, getting promoted. Everything. I was just quickly succeeding and pushing forward, and got sponsorship to do things. And I thought, this is wonderful change. I come back to that point about a lot of people aren't comfortable with change, and they may sugarcoat, oh no, I'm only a one club player. Yeah. Well, have you experienced anywhere else? Do you know what it's like to do something different? And there is lots of riches and opportunities there to move. So my career, my work career, my jobs, my resume looks like my footy club jumpers. I've moved every couple of years and gone and explored different places. It's been wonderful.
I'd love to know a bit more about your thoughts on different cultures in different clubs, because you think if you haven't been involved in footy clubs as a player over a long period of time, I under 18s was the last year I played, so I haven't played seniors in footy. But you look at a club like Essendon, right, and you think a club at AFL level, they must, at that level, they must get it right. They must have it right. But there's something at a culture like a club like Essendon causing what's going on there, right? Yeah. It has to be, because, with the draft and all of that, they're all essentially on the same playing field, really.
It's a great historic club, a successful club.
It's a massively successful club. It's one of the biggest followers. It's got money. It's got all those things, but there's something going on.
I think something's not quite right too. I don't know. Yeah, Rod might have a different view. He might think they're fine, but it doesn't seem to be.
And I don't necessarily, it's up to you whether you want to give your opinion about Essendon. And we haven't even asked who you follow in the AFL. Is it North Melbourne still or no? Not Geelong.
Carlton.
Right.
There you go.
Knows how I said it?
Okay.
John Elliott?
Well, there we go. There's another. Well, you could have asked the same question about Carlton almost.
Exactly. So, they've just managed to maybe pull a bit of on-field performance out. But I grew up hating Carlton because I was a Hawthorn supporter. So Carlton and Essendon were our great rivals in the 80s. Yeah. Plus, you mentioned zoning. Carlton was Bendigo was Carlton's zone.
Yes.
So I had mates who I had a great rivalry with over football allegiances. I'm
a Tigers man. Yeah. So I've got a really nice sort of memory of the recent culture of Richmond, if you like, the Benny Gale culture, that recent period of success. You can see what
a difference
culture and leadership can do.
Top makes.
I know. Yeah. Isn't it amazing that one person or two probably with Peggy O'Neill, him and the coach, the CEO, the CEO and they had a good coach too, but it was the CEO and the chair of the board. You know all about this stuff, mate, the dynamics here, what I'm talking about. I know you do. The difference that can make, and that does lead the culture. I might be getting ahead of, we should let you respond first before I talk about what I think. But go back to Essendon or Carlton and the culture. What do you think about the cultures going on these AFL clubs?
It's bigger than just one word, because culture's about environment. Now, if I maybe just digress to try and push the point, you both know what it's like to be here in Torquay, but you also know what it's like in Hamilton, you know what it's like in Bennett. Different places. People go about life differently. They drive, they walk, they shop differently. They choose things differently.
Different places attract different people.
They sound different.
And it's an environment. So when you talk about the environment, if I said to you, and back in the days, we played on the old Glenferrie ground and the Junction Oval, Moorabbin and Ard Street, Windy Hill, they're all gazetted places you play.
Suburban grounds.
But there were some places you really liked playing on because it was just had a nice feel for it. Country football, there are certain grounds you love. Cricket, you think about the grounds you like to play on. And it's different for everyone. I like the scenery, I like the rooms, I like all the peripheral things to make it say, okay, this is a nice looking place.
Yeah.
Then you start to then delve into what the people are like, and you can start to then look at your sponsorship and your things like that. It starts to tell a bit more of a story.
Yeah.
So I know this may sound a little bit long-winded. There's more to when I look at the evolution. Essendon had evolved, and they went and created some sterile environment out at the hangar. Now, I've been out there, I've seen what I know it's like. When I was playing with the Essendon Masters, you know, we had a chance to go out there and play a lot of practice games and so forth on the ground. But it didn't have the same feel as what Windy Hill did.
Okay, that's interesting. The actual physical environment itself it didn't feel good.
No, it didn't feel
right
good
from the start. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And you talk about those things, you know. You go back in your time. Now it could be if I said to you, "What if you play golf? What golf courses do you like?" You'll tell me about what you blokes think and priority to. Some people like, I like the big open spaces and that. And I hate where it's all lots of trees. Some people say, I love the scenery as I'm walking around. I take it all in and I can absorb more. Makes me feel good when I'm hitting the ball, even when I can curse and cuss if I miss the bloody thing. Culture, and as an example, I've moved from the Geelong boys to the Brunswick. So the Geelong Cats to the Brunswick Mudlarks. They're different beasts.
Yep.
A lot of the guys here in Geelong, in the Geelong Masters, you know, they've been in Geelong for a long time. They've been successful in their own right. They've got some, you know, deep roots in regards to their family and friends, and they know Geelong. And
Geelong's a conservative town.
Geelong's
a conservative town. Traditions and
a bunch of bloody handbag waving bloody softies. You know, I got to give to them.
Yeah.
So. But I look at the Brunswick boys, and the big standout for me is that there's a lot of ethnic backgrounds and so forth, but they go in there, they're holidaying over in Europe. They're getting together and having a wine down in you know, in the nice finer restaurants, and they're promoting that. And I think blokes over here, they're lucky if they go down to the pub, or they'll hang out at the footy club, have a couple of beers and a few darts, and you know, that's not to make it crude and crass of things, but they go off their different directions, and it's a different environment, different like. So I see a lot of that as you transient across into different places, be it work, be it your social friends. So we do attract, and you go to a party, and there are people you'd be attracted to, and you think our common denominator with Alan Barner, we gravitate toward each other because we have a group or a neighbourhood get together, and we all tend to gravitate to yourself. Alan and I get together, have a few beers and chuckles, and we start laughing about football and carry on. We've got this, you see, a like-minded, and you find the same interests. You appreciate that more as you get older. So back to your point about what I think is happening with Essendon, your culture's not there because the environment's not there. You may have your staunch supporters, but they're a different type of supporter. They're not the ones that were there at Windy Hill, you know, 10 deep, calling for the peanuts to be thrown out the back and the bloke walking around.
More corporate supporter kind of thing, and they want to have some power at the top. They want to have some control over the club or whatever, which may hinder the club being successful, do you think? Or
all you do is hear the majority of talk about Essendon as examples on the table about just that one, Scott. It's all about the power brokers and the senior people.
Having too much influence over the football.
Let's talk about the players.
Yeah.
How about you go out and interview some of the players? Go, you know, the younger people and the thing, and talk to them more about that. They're trying to sensationalise a lot of football. You know, when you look at the media now, you know, the agenda setters, the footy classified, everyone's trying to get a story or milk something or create something. Or what if? Excuse me. So they're always looking at an angle, always putting a negative spin on it. I hate, you know, I shouldn't say. Look, I loathe sometimes watching commercial news and so forth because it's a lot of fabricated stuff that it's just like, you know, I don't want to hear that. I don't be saying this is the latest food trend, or this is how you spend your money or save your money. Well, don't go to the shopping centre all the time. You know, do some other things. There's some different, more interesting stories that you can get out of life, and we come back to, you know, where we're all coming from. We bring into, you know, your communities, you know, different likes, different histories. Different. We're not all have the same thing, but you may have a common interest. Like, you know, so you love, you know, obviously your cricket, but you also too love doing the speaking engagement with your podcasts. And to your credit, I'm sure you get as much, if not more, out of that. Like I mentioned before, the things that I've got out of situations in life and some of the stories I've told just before that you get out of it. Who gets to judge that? We do individual.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's a good feel.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it for money. It's different, isn't it? Because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think your professional journey through life is really an important influence in many ways, and certainly gave me, and I think I can already tell you too, just a working class kid, a wonderful life, really access to a really wonderful life, travel, great experiences. That's part of it, but we're not doing this. There's no money in here. Scott's sort of keeping this thing afloat, but we're doing this to meet interesting people like you and record your story and have other people listen to it. And it makes me feel great. We've done 50 or something of these.
Yeah. This is the
I've met,
54th,
50 blokes who I'd never have met otherwise, and nobody else would have potentially met other than their close circle of friends.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel really good. I mean, that's life fulfilling, isn't it? Yeah. That stuff, you're doing it, you choose to do it, and it makes you feel good.
And I started this podcast thing. I don't care about making money out of it. This is the reason why I want to do it.
Yeah.
I have a natural, I don't know, competitiveness or natural something that makes me want to grow it and potentially make money out of it. So I've got to keep stopping myself.
Because you're an entrepreneur. That's what you do. Your working life's,
it becomes less enjoyable.
Small business. Yeah,
it becomes less enjoyable when you start thinking about how can I make money.
It's like playing golf as a professional. Who would want to do it?
No,
take all the fun out of it.
Well, I've been there with the brewery. I started. I got out of property because I wanted to start a brewery because I was passionate about love beer, love making beers, home brewing forever and ever. Yeah. By the end of it, I've lost the interest in. I've made a beer in years and years and years.
It became really serious hard work
because it kind of took all the joy out of it.
Yeah.
So when I finished up there, I was like, okay, I want to do some stuff like this. For example, that I'm just doing it pure for the fun and the joy of it, and not worrying about. I don't want that joy sucked out by having to make money out of it or having to grow it all the time or having to reach eyeballs or all that kind of shit. Again, naturally, I tend to do that. And I'm going to tell you, remember why you started this in the first place, Yeah.
But if we all come back, and I mentioned it earlier, if all you get out of what you're doing, your journey in life, that someone remembers your name, it may sound over melodramatic, but if they remember your name, and for something I reckon you've done well when you go under.
Yeah, it is. I'm actually going to a funeral tomorrow of a dad of a good mate of mine who was a very strong influence. He was an ex-cricket coach and a good footballer, played for South Bendigo and among other clubs. And, you think about these times with these funerals and, you do. I've seen going to funerals for mates who you've got 5 people in the room.
Yeah.
And they're out of obligation, or you've got 1,000, 2,000 people in the room. The place is like standing there in chockers and everyone's celebrating this life. And, you can't help thinking, I know which one of those I'd rather. I don't necessarily want 2,000 people. No. I certainly don't want sort of 5 people. Nobody. That's right. I'd like to think I've had a better influence on the world around me and the people around me than that.
That's not Bruce's funeral you're going to, is it? Not Bruce Corrie.
No,
because we've lost another. Sorry, there's somebody else. I just thought for a moment. To digress, but we've lost another former playing partner of ours from the old cricket club I saw on Facebook.
And Bruce was behind the bar at the funeral.
He was. Bruce was there at that last funeral we went to, and I didn't realise he was unwell. But
neither did I.
It's very sad. Yeah, so not an old guy either. It's your age, more than my age in a way. Not old. So that's very sad. But look, you don't live your life worrying about your legacy, but it is something, I guess. I think it's something it's good to have that in the back of your mind, because by thinking of that, you're thinking about, am I doing good things in my, in my community, in my sphere of influence or whatever. Yeah, that's right.
You're not living your life to, count how many people are going to turn up at your funeral. But
am I a good citizen?
Good human.
Well, people look at me and go, he was a good bloke, good citizen. That's all that you want. Is that was my legacy. Brian wasn't a bad bloke. He was a good bloke.
Am I improving other people's lives?
To whatever. That's what you want. I think that's what you want.
People drive to a lot more to go beyond that, and they want to be able to be recognised for all the things they've done, and they want the list on. They're looking for the trophy and the win there, or the list of things. But
well, I don't think Neil Danaher did what he did in order to get a state funeral.
No. Come on, Blake. Did you see any of that service?
No, I didn't.
Dostoevsky and
Oh, yeah.
Sartre and Camus, and he's a really literate, well-read man, computer scientist, and like I know none of that shit about him.
Yeah.
He's a super bright guy, and a really interesting guy. The conversation he's had with his kids about literature and stuff, like a very, very interesting bush boy, a farm kid from bloody back in New South Wales. That's what I found really interesting. It was a magnificent state funeral. You surely, Rod, you've seen it, or did you see some of it?
No, I didn't.
Look, you would still be able to have a look. If you get a chance to have a look at it, it's one of the best funerals I've ever seen. It's very long, and a lot of people speak, but it's got some great humour in it and some really beautiful, loving truths from his closest family, from his boys, his sons, who loved him like a mate, and he was a much more complex and interesting guy than I had any idea about. I just think about great footballer, one of 4 brothers, and a terrific fundraiser for MND, right? No, he's
more than
a lot more than that. Very, very interesting fella. So, great legacy, well beyond, I think, I'm trying to think of the term. I can't just slip my mind now, but I know. Personally, people talking about being what you're being defined by something and not being defined by something, and he shouldn't. I think it was in the service I heard this. He wasn't defined by M&D, and he shouldn't be defined by M&D. No, he shouldn't, because that was nothing. That was like
it's a very small part of it. It's just how he was caught at the end.
He did that. But wow, as a man, a sportsman, a footballer, a husband, and all that stuff.
So I looked at that when you talk about when he went on that journey, when he found out he had MND, that he was willing to make that sacrifice and not be selfish. It's like that was more so that it wasn't about the money and the riches and what he created, all the awareness. It was just like he made a conscious decision.
I'm fairly sure he wouldn't want to spend those last years of his life in the media spotlight, you know, and especially when you would be very uncomfortable with a disease like that.
And he's already been in it.
He's doing that because he knows that's what he needed to do.
He's got a profile. He's a great sportsman. He had he didn't need to build a profile about who he was. He did that, the genuine giving act and worked his ass off at a time when he could easily have just gone, but I've got this diagnosis. It's horrible. I don't know. I'll go to Greece for a few months. I'll chill. I'll go and read some of more of the books that I love. No, he got in, rolled up his sleeve, and he did have a crack. Amazing.
I'm the selfish bastard who would do the Greek island.
Well, I think I might too. Like, to be honest, I tell you what, I've got to dips me lid to you, because I think I would too. Because it's a horrible diagnosis, and you want to spend it. As close as you could to the people you love in the best place you could think of. That's what I'd be thinking. It's not long that I want to gather me mates with me and I want to be somewhere really good. Not I want to do a job and make sure other people don't suffer from me. I'm not that giving. I'm afraid I'm not that good a person.
I'm going to pick up on a comment you made before. You don't really know who the person is until you start to hear a bit more about it. It was unfortunate we lost, and it has to do with a football and a relationship situation. We lost a guy that was playing with Essendon Super Rules, a guy by the name of Stephen Crook. He was, a business professional. I used to say to him, I said, Steve, look, when you finish work, pull around the corner, take your suit and tie off, and put something trashy on, and then roll up to the footy ground and jump out. Don't come to work. Don't come to the footy ground in your suit and all. Steve was the Chief Financial Officer for Vision Australia at the time. And not a lot of people knew that, but didn't also know that. But he had an unfortunate accident that, he came to footy. It was, having a bit of a kick, and no one really knew. Not a lot of people really knew about him. You sort of pick up, you're a business professional, and you start to build a relationship, and you go out with their partners, and you build a bit of a sidebar friendship. And he got killed in a motorcycle accident, and it absolutely floored me, me personally. And there's too many similarities that were going on in his life. Now he was, he's a bit of he loved riding motorbikes and things. It's like right out of character for this particular person who he represented, Chief Financial. He'd been counter, for God's sake. They don't ride motorbikes. And came, and I spoke at and I represented the football club as a speaker at his funeral. Didn't know who else was going to be there. And it was a huge number of people turned out, 500 people. There was at the time, I can't even think of the gentleman's name, and I wouldn't be do justice, but he was the head of the Australian Olympic Foundation. Oh, yeah. And Steve was associated with him, and a few other people spoke. Even Dipper was there, and these other people that we had, and we're all going,
What are they doing here?
What diversity, and they had a chance that a number of us spoke, and in our little way, representing and spoke about. Well, this is what Steve did. It's like hiding in the closet. He played Super Rules football.
That's all we knew him as.
And that's what we knew. We used that. We called him Crooks. You throw a lot of banter in there, but you think about the diversity a lot of people bring. It's untapped until you actually get to know it. You don't want to hear about it at a funeral. You don't want to go looking for it either because we're all time poor, particularly as we get older. I feel. But there are some things that. Questions have asked, can you have your cake and eat it too? Or can you play football and still have a career? Yeah. Yes, you can. There are some sacrifices, but you can do those things, but it's not necessarily sacrificing. It's you're getting fulfillment. You get some enjoyment out of that. Those aspects. You get to meet some wonderful people, diversity. If I say to you, apart from clicking the jumpers, I say to you, there's more behind it. I've seen a lot of different cultures. I can tell you what they're sort of like, the different profiles of players, the ones who get attracted to that. I can see where players, if I said to you both now, if you had a situation, you're a young recruit, you had a chance to go and play at a club. All right, I'll just pause for a moment because I want you to think. We're going to draft you. Which club do you want to be drafted to? Where do you want to go and play, Scott?
Where do I want to go? I'm probably Hawthorn, I suppose.
All right. Suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that because of love, Brian?
Yeah, Tigers, of course.
All right.
Give me that yellow and black jumper. Absolutely.
Yeah. There you go. So you're driven with that lovely memory and the Halligan years and so forth. That.
Yeah.
I'd probably say I want to go to West Coast or something like that because it's a city.
Yeah.
A new city, a big environment. They're a big club. They're probably getting shit on. They're getting shit on, but
the only way's up.
The only way's up. Even though that I'm deep down, I'm a Carlton man and tried and tested. Just let you know, a lot of those jumpers that I have a Collingwood one because my missus is Collingwood.
Yeah.
Yep.
On wet, shitty days at training, I always make a point of pulling the Collingwood jumper out in the white shorts, going to train and jumping in the mud and all that.
Who does the washing and
presumably at home?
Your wife's doing the washing, clearly.
And I get a lot of laughs with the blokes saying, "Oh, why are you wearing a bloody Collingwood jumper for your girl?" I said, "Because I'm going to jump in the mud and I'm going to send it home to the missus and to wash." It's my way of getting back at the bloody Collingwood. I reminded her, I said, I always introduce people and you get on, when we talk to people about rivalry, one even a couple, I said, look, quite frankly, I said, my wife went out with Joffa. I was engaged with Joffa. She goes, "Oh, no, I was not." I said, "Yes, you were." So that's a bit of banter. So,
I bet, but I'm sure she's denying that.
Yeah. It'd be like saying he went out for Rolf Harris, but now, wouldn't it?
Almost.
The innocence of growing up to hear and find things that happen in later years.
Yeah. If there was a common thread, because I mean, most people would be well and truly retired by 40 playing footy.
Yep.
If there's a common thread between people playing footy at 50, 55, 62, as in your case, is there a common thread you see there, or?
Yeah, and a lot of players too is a mix of things. There's blokes who've come to football late in life. I hadn't played for 20, 30 years, or have been encouraged to come down and play old man's footy. And they were useless when they're younger, but they have an opportunity to go and have a kick. Admittedly small parts in many instances, but not with not a lot of game time. But
as a fitness thing or a friendship thing, mainly though, motivation.
Come back to friendship. I think it's that group,
social.
That's group social stuff.
Yeah.
I have my own routines. I'll be at a ground, hours before anyone else. I go on my own. I like to have my own routine, my own personal space. Where others like the commute, we all meet at the Cryo bloody truck stop. They all meet there and they commute to the ground across town, and they have their hour time. That would drive me crazy. Yeah, that'd be worse than sitting in the happy hour at the caravan park. So with the different things you come out with that and with what we've experienced with my life, I've got more calmer. I've used the example at times. There's been shifts in life where we've changed. Like I gave you the little example about throwing the cans as a little kid, and there's another moment in life where I used to always go through airports. I would be taken to the side by the security blokes and over here, wandered down and unpack everything, and you got all your shoes and everything, your computer in your hand, and to a point where one day I said, I'm going to walk over there because that's the only place that's got a clear bench and I can actually get dressed properly, and I'd force my way over there versus with the cattle. It's a different way of looking things. Knife cuts both ways, an old saying. It's a different way of looking things. I look at people that I don't judge them or where they've come from, what they want to do, or why they're there, or what they want to get out of it. I am, whilst you can get personal success, I can go out there and get a shitload of the ball and leather poisoning. But if the bloke in the small position hasn't felt included, well, or he's not there, I can't play. It's like the umpires. I used to curse and cuss them as a young bloke. I used to curse, I used to be a brawler and a fighter back in the day. Mate, no. I can't play football without people who are willing to officiate the game. And doesn't matter what they call, they see things.
They're doing their best, aren't they?
Doing their best.
And maybe they're not as good as you'd like them to be, but they're, there's no game without them.
Well, what was that? What was Sean Ryan, the 350 game AFL umpire veteran we had on here, and he said, a football player, I think he said it, or maybe I imagine it, but a football player might make 10, 12, 15 mistakes in a game. Nobody remembers them. Umpire makes one mistake, everyone remembers that.
No real football. You don't get one mistake as an umpire.
One mistake as an umpire. And if you're a player, only half the crowd hates you. If you're an umpire,
the whole crowd hates you.
It's tough. There's some enjoyable things, and you appreciate. And I think our game draws our community, our society close. We do have a culture that everyone loves going to the football. Isn't it wonderful? I've been to soccer games. I remember going to a soccer game in Euro 2000. I was working over there, and the game was played over in Holland, and you had segregated parking out there, and buses brought in, and then barbed wire fencing, enclosures and so forth, and just race.
Well, that's when the English come here and come to a footy game, and they go, "We can't believe blokes are standing next to each other, supporting and the opposite teams having a beer and a laugh together. Like it's unfelt.
And it's a great part of the dialogue in the outer.
Absolutely.
It's you can go there just listen to the conversations between the two parties, which you don't get when you divide the ground in half.
Absolutely.
It does say a little bit about our society too. I think you were talking a bit earlier, I think, right about that. It's like very egalitarian, We like to chop people off, keep them down, we're all down here, and it's got that nice feel to it.
I don't care whether the Tigers are getting shit on, but you know what? We were pretty damn good in our day, hey? Reflect on that.
Yeah, that's right.
We're loyal.
Yeah.
There's some you're loyal to your friends and your mates to a certain point, and to the people around you, particularly the ones you love, obviously. But and the things you're willing to give back in the community, because we take a lot, and without being prompted every now and then, I've sort of given you the nice stuff, but Jesus, there's some terrible things. I've had trials and tribulations, and if I'm a harsh judge of a person, there's times in my life, I wouldn't have liked myself either, but there's some times I love myself too. I like, the best position on a footy field, Brian, is the position that you're in front of the clubhouse window, so you can have a look at yourself all the time. Nothing like preening yourself, particularly when the ball's not around. So there's some things. I mean, again, as I said to you, I've hopefully tried to throw in, a life that I've grown. It's gone pretty damn quick.
It does.
I've had opportunities. There's things that I've been involved in. I never even thought that was ever going to be the case. Whilst I was, I've had a career in having a kick at the footy that I've just loved being involved in, and that doesn't matter whether good, bad, or indifferent. But I still love playing it, and it drives the success. Come home, if you've had a dirty day, Jesus, the week's shocking. Oh, you beat yourself up emotionally, and you're down, you're depressed. But geez, if you had a fair bit of the ball, mate, you're up and about, and you're feeling good about yourself. So that's the emotional roller coaster that you can't help but ride and be part of.
Well, the other thing that the great game does too, that we regularly reflect on here and comes to this conversation about the importance of the club around small local communities. You know, those towns, the netball and footy club. You know, they are the such a core component and a great contributor to healthy local communities. You know, healthy activity out there, volunteers, everyone goes. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, I was never much good, but I always played. You know, some kids didn't like it much, but everyone had a crack. You know, we looked after everyone, and some kids were brilliant. You know, and together you worked as a team. You won some, you lost some. That whole thing for small local communities, not much else going on out there. People working hard on farms, you know, scratching a living and coming together as a team. The women with their netball and now football as well, of course. But my day, you know, netball playing the women and boys playing the footy, really important. Like to the local pub, you know, the hall committee, the RSL, all around those small country towns. Very, very small towns still have footy clubs. You know, not all of them I know, but there's still a lot of clubs making a huge contribution to rural living.
Absolutely.
In Australia.
And I think we take out we haven't even touched on the AFL and our dislike for the AFL.
No, I don't reckon we need to, because I reckon we don't even have to ask Rod about that. I can tell by looking at him what he's going to say.
Like if you take away the corporatisation that the AFL's done to football and you look at it the next step down, I mean, I would probably have nothing. I wouldn't bother with the AFL if it wasn't for the loyalty or the love of Hawthorn that I grew up with. You can't quite ever shake, you know, for that club that you grew up following and loving. But you know, you look, you know, the country level the country football level. I think that's, you know, it is a fantastic game that we do love, and we do love what it contributes to our community and to people's lives like yourself. You know, such an important part of it.
I went to a game in Mildura on the weekend. When I was up there, I did. I've been up to Mildura for the weekend. I lived there for 10 years. I went back actually ostensibly to see some old cricketing mates, some old cricket club, Mildura Settlers Cricket Club, who are now associated with Bamble Footy Club. So the footy club has joined the cricket club, so it's a joint facility there now. And I went up, because it's winter, so I went up to watch Bamble play and catch up with a lot of my old mates. But interesting there, I hadn't seen this before. The boundary, their boundary ball is thrown up and not thrown in. Have you ever seen that? You probably have. Do you do that? Or?
Yes.
I'd never seen it before, Scott, because we love still going to local footy. They're not throwing the ball in because they have difficulty getting, big enough, strong enough, to give it a decent throw in. The ruck competition, it's a ruck competition, thrown up by the umpire when it goes out of bounds. Correct. It's the first time I'd seen it. So that was in the, what do they call it up there? I think it's the Sunset Country League or something. I can't think anyway, though. Not the main Mildura League.
I haven't seen that, but I do notice they throw them for a lot further inside the ground now. They don't throw from the boundary.
It's the first time I'd seen that. But, you know, I was actually going to ask you, Rod, earlier about umpiring and getting umpires for all of this footy you're playing. You're able to get enough umpires for all of these?
There are, and it's quite diverse in the age and gender as well. You've got some players that have sort of been around for a while. They cross over because there's a good quid in it.
Go back to umpire, get a bit of money, and keep fit still.
And they're officiating our games
and making a contribution.
You've got a lot of, say, as an example, umpires that are umpiring the local leagues here that are also being picked up to fill in and do cameos in the Masters.
Okay. You
get the age bracket. You know, you get the young kid, boy or girl, with the old stager
learning. Good.
They're involved, that they officiate. They're all different, and they have a different idiosyncrasies and nuances of how they see things. And you think, I've said to players, pick up real quick what the umpire's like.
Because everyone's going to be
his mannerisms.
And play to the umpire, sort of, to an extent. See what they're looking for.
First thing you do is you get up.
That's a good idea.
G'day, look, Brian. I always try and find out their names. I said, Brian and Scott. I said, look, look, shitty old day in it, or beautiful sunny day, and you see by their response, you think, oh shit, he's going to be an arsehole.
He doesn't want to be here.
He's going to be. This bloke's going to be anal.
I'm
going.
Get a sense of their character.
So And you may have a decision go against you. You could have your head taken off. And I said, and you get up and they automatically expect you to be hostile. So is what it is. Don't think you meant it.
Yeah.
Your call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's sucking up the umpire. So you bastard. Getting hated.
Yeah.
There's two ways of, you're going to play the game. There's that, and there's an emotional thing. I think you've heard enough people talk about footballs. If you in headspace, if you understand the game, you read the game. You haven't moved an inch yet, or even tried to kick anything. If you do those things well or prepare, half the battle or most of the battle's done. Because you'll see people, and we've seen, all sides have got this tremendous belief in themselves, and they'll just break down barriers. And Footscray's example came from bottom in and won a premiership. You look at the days where both the Tigers and the Hawks have been so powerful and successful. And you look at them saying,
the three sides all had a lot of success. Those three teams.
But my side were always paper bags and lots of money. We really didn't do it tough because we paid our way through.
For all the Lygon Street cafes and just have a bit of a run around the park.
Probably second only to Melbourne in terms of tops. Really. If it wasn't for Melbourne, Carlton would be in that spot.
Oh, Jesus.
Melbourne well and truly got that locked down.
They got that locked down. They're in our skis.
They're happy with that reputation.
They do. So, and again, it's all intertwined. It's we go through life, we're interacting with people, we're doing something, we're earning a quid, we're playing a sport, we're just getting up, breathing, doing it, and it may seem like a Groundhog Day sometimes. Time goes pretty quick, and I suppose I'm feeling a lot as a person. People say, a typical response when you see people in the park, you're still playing footy? Yeah. Said, and it's quick to say, well, just because you can't, why should I have to stop? That'd be quick for me to, but I take that as a bit of a compliment.
From that point, because they can't believe it, because they can't imagine it for themselves.
There's no 40 used to be old. Like when I was a kid, for footballers that were playing at 40 in country, guys have been great footballs, but still playing sometimes at 40 and 41. And we go, in those days, you go, God, how old's that? 40 seemed really old. The bloody AFL blokes are playing to 40 now. That's amazing to think that could be the case. And here you are still going at 60.
I stopped playing seniors in the firsts at 47. And still backing up for Super Rules on every
So you played almost to 50 in open comp, open age comp. That's a great effort.
Not in those clubs, but mates who'd gone and got coaching jobs and their teams were getting hammered, and said, listen, can you come down and teach these blokes how to play? So the only way you can show them is to role model them in the game and teach them how, running patterns and where to play and where to run and go, and talk them to places and encourage them through those words. Not overload them with information, just simple little steps.
Can I ask about your body, Rod? That's a lot of hard work on joints and muscles and tendons and things. How's your body holding up? Do you have any chronic injuries? You must have some.
I've had quite a few. Well, I've just played the weekend with a cricket pad on my back because I had my ribs done 4 weeks ago. In the last game, we
broken or bruised?
Bruised.
Oh shit! I've had bruised ribs. That's very bloody uncomfortable.
Well, I've had them broken that many times. I've had things. I've had a shark bite. You can't quite see it.
Surfing?
No. I say it's a shark bite. That's a surgeon got hold of me.
He was the shark. The surgeon was the shark. He was in your wallet.
Playing a national carnival, playing for Victoria, and we were playing WA, and the ball was up. The ruckman from the opposition, big tall bloke, I play as a rover.
Yeah.
Our ruckman sort of missed it, but the big ruckman collected the ball, and I ran through and coating at him with my arm, spilled the ball out and got it and ran on. Thought something strange. What I did is I snapped both tendons and my whole bicep, and he snapped and recoiled my arm.
Oh shit!
So I actually got my left hamstring's my bicep tendons.
Okay, they cut out your hamstring, put it in there.
Into there.
Yeah, right. So his head was tougher than your arm when you coat-hanged him.
And I could. There's that many breaks and concussions and you name it. Touch wood, I've not had problems with knees
and ankles. Okay,
the ankles been dicey, but there's nothing you can't plaster up. I've had frozen shoulders ripped out. You learn muscle memory is what you learn as you actually can adapt. You got two sides of your body. If one side doesn't work, the other one does. That's where you'll find the the new age kids now who don't have that, you'll see them coming through, and they, worst part about seeing them on a sports Sunday or something, they try to do the handball competitions. Oh, how pathetic. They obviously weren't brought up with likes of us with plastic footies. And I say plastic footies, those bloody things were hard. And you weren't, you learnt pretty quickly to kick straight as a kid in the hallway of your house. Because if you hit the walls, Mum would come and grab you, and you weren't allowed to kick the footy. So you learnt. So I know it sounds silly. It's like old Bradman hitting the bloody golf ball and a thing.
Water tank.
But you were kicking the plastic footy in the hallway. To run around. And I remember years later with my nephews, when I remember going to babysitting them, and the young, they used to get the footies, run around the house. He said, "Come get the footy. Let's go kick around the house." And they kick around the corner. He loved it. I said, Mum wasn't worrying too much about the wall. His mum wasn't worrying too much about the ball, but we were kicking the shit out of the footy around the thing. I said, "Now, I'm going home, and you have to explain why there's all these marks and dints in the wall. And don't blame your uncle." So...
It was a bit like playing cricket in the backyard, wasn't it? You had to learn to keep the ball on the ground because you six and out over the fence was out. Or you know, had to play on the offside rather than the leg side, depending where the garden was or the windows were or whatever.
Well, you would have got the old garbage bin out. You're on the street, and the wicket keeper was responsible when the car was coming. You moved the bin out, right in the back, and you'd be hitting around the street and kicking the car. And we did that, with all sports. But that was we'd go and meet their kids now. They're inside. They're on the social media. You'll see them all sit up like birds on a fence. One after the other,
beside each other on a couch
with their phones. It's sad. They're not out there with the. I love the stories I hear from my daughter with her bringing up children. My daughter has a son that's 4, and she has 2 twins. But rainy days, they got the gumboots on and outside. You're getting their body's immune and acclimatised to the weather. You're getting familiar. My son just had a child, a little girl. They're the same. They have the intent that we're going out. We're not live up in the Macedon Ranges. We're going out in the cold. You get used to it, but their kids are protected now.
We used to spend all day outside. There was just the rule was get home before dark or get home by dinner time. That was it. Other than that, it was just bugger off. We don't want to see you for the day. Well, get out from under our feet or whatever.
I'm one of 7 kids, Rod, and living on a farm. And I remember at my mum's funeral, someone telling the story about she used to. My mother had a saying that was, when the time was right, "Shoo chooks," she'd say. "Shoo chooks," and that was it. That was the time to get out of the house. That's enough. Out you go. And where you went and what you did around the farm, she didn't care, but it's time to get outside. And we spent all our time outside, we did. Shoe chooks.
we found activities to do. We entertain. We the whole group dynamics about interacting with each other and how to cope with, being picked on or bullied or making new friends and everything in between. You sort of learnt those coping skills. I see a different generation now that don't necessarily have a lot of those coping skills. So then comes back to that point about how do you see the world and what's changed. Nothing really has changed. We've got new technology and better educated. But the sad part about it, someone was telling me, I'm part of a board of here in Geelong with a group and some people there, and comment was made the other day. It said the generation coming now are not going to be what it has been with other generations, where the next generation is always smarter and cleverer and has progressed. This next generation are going to stall, if not fall behind, because of that technology that we spoke about.
Well, another rabbit hole we can't go down here now, but with AI coming on, I think it's only going to get worse because that's going to do a lot of the stuff that take even more skills away from them because they just won't need to do this stuff because people are still working out how to use AI, but once they have, it'll become a part of our everyday life, and there will be so much less we need to do.
It'll have to be de-skilling, won't it? It'll have to be de-skilling up there because they won't learn the skills of how to find stuff.
for
be done for
looking for something, for searching for organising stuff on, but also for reading. Oh, sorry, for writing, for drawing, for all of that stuff.
All creative stuff.
You already see it. You can already tell an AI drawing into document. You can already tell an AI, writing or whatever. And that's just the tip of the iceberg because people are still learning how to use it. It will become, if it stays on the current trajectory, in only a few years, it'll become so ingrained in our life, all those skills will just be gone.
Well,
yes, you're going to have to learn new skills, but the basic life skills, I think, are going to be taken away.
Well, I think even our living standards are going to be affected because it's only just starting to now creep out because of the data centres and what is going to be required. We talk about the power and the water and so forth, and all those stories you're starting to now hear that has all that infrastructure
and the land space.
All that infrastructure needs to be put in place to support that. They're saying, well, we want it, we got to build it now. Well, if we build it, we haven't got the power, we haven't got the water. There was a thing this morning, my son's involved with sustainability. He's going to move into that space as consulting for that arena. And we've been talking a bit about, what's going to change in the future, I said, but it still comes back to some basic skills and so forth. Don't ever lose track of that or make sure you keep yourself abreast of that. But, AI technology is going to be here. But the data centers, I was listening today in Utah, that the data centers that are being proposed to build there are going to consume more energy and water than is currently being used by the population. And the population is saying now at the moment our water pressure's dropped, our bills have gone up 33%, and all these things. And said, and you want to keep building data centers for AI? Our standard of living is now compromised because what are you going to tap into? And then there's all that, and I don't mean to put some political things on the table, but when you start to look at, policies, decisions about, approvals from the government's perspective, approve these things without any clauses to say that you must now, the only way you can build it is you have to put in the infrastructure yourself for creating energy to power these things. Or what are you going to do in regards to the water? You can't tap into natural resources, or you do set up desalination plants or whatever to cool these things down. We're not putting those covenants in place because our politicians are only here short term.
Exactly. They're only thinking about the next 4 years, 8 years. They're always their career might last. They're definitely not thinking about generations.
Generational stuff. No,
it's unsustainable. Anyway, look, we're getting down a bit of a rabbit hole. With, I feel like we did go down a bit of a rabbit hole. We talked more about life and some pretty deeply philosophical stuff rather than your footy career. We kind of skirted around the edge of that. But
I think I'll give you a bit of a snapshot, from that point of view. And I've been with Scallywag with that stuff. I mean, I could tell you some giggly stories, and Alan's heard them all, and we have a laugh about it. Pull the jumper out, and I remember this and that particular instance.
I think we'll have to have another episode when we get more into those stories.
We can do that. We can do if you'd like to come back again. I'll do a part two, one down the track with focus on more. Well, we didn't even go. You said you got 50 jumpers there, 50 clubs.
Well, that's what it'd be good to just
to go through the journey of your different clubs and compare, experiences and successes and failures or whatever on the way through.
We might have to get the video set up so we can actually have a visual one as well, so they can see the jumpers.
Geez, that'd be upmarket. We might be able to do that from our new data center studio.
Data center.
We'll get AI involved.
Well, you actually get Alan involved because that's where it comes back to. I mean, you talk about a bloke who has played a good level of footy himself, and he's passionate about it. He goes around and sees all the different teams. He writes about them. He's a wealth of knowledge and drive. And I've told him a few of the stories about all the scallywag stuff that you were able to get away with. From eating the card when you're getting sent off the ground and stuff like that. I was the first person in the Central Highlands Football League to be reported under the card system, where they issue your card,
like
yellow,
soccer.
Yellow off
the field for a period of time,
and hand it to the timekeeper. Read that. I got a toweling up from this particular bloke from Hepburn, and I just couldn't take it anymore, so I give it to him. Umpire pulled me up and said, "What are you pulling me up for?" "No, you're going off. Here's the card." "You can't." "No, But this is the first year you're getting sent off.
Yeah. Played footy all these years.
No,
and never
Melton
got
blokes, you
sent
get
off.
away with it. No, off you go.
Yeah.
So
Didn't even belt anyone, just the verbal stuff. Oh, you did?
Well, no, I belted him.
Oh, yeah, you did belt him.
Yeah,
Right. Oh,
I
okay.
got
Yeah,
3 weeks for belting him, and I got 7 weeks suspended sentence for eating the card and for bringing the game and distribute.
Did you really?
Yeah,
You ate the card, didn't give it to the timekeeper.
Yeah, spat it out on the field. I didn't even get to the timekeeper.
That's a classic.
Anyway, there's some stories there, but that's the wild side and the things you'll be able to get away with those times. But I thought, again, we can tell some scallywag stuff. We haven't, I've stayed away from any of the, the potty mouth stuff that was going on there, and there's a lot of that, and we've seen that in society, but it's changed, and we find ourselves here today. You've taken the valuable time out of your life to be able to ask me to come along and talk about my life.
I do think we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do a second one.
I think we should do a second one.
I'd love to hear some
and
good
focus
old
more on footy, because it's
stories,
been interesting. Because I think Rod took us down that path a bit. Because I think early on, I got the sense of how much he values his professional journey as well, and this has shadowed it. So we got a good feel for what he's brought to life. But I'd love to come back to some more detailed football stuff if he's got the time to come back to us at some stage.
And I suppose where I pitched myself, because the information you sent to me, and the few podcasts I just wanted to make sure that we appeal to that, and I listened to some of the people, and they told their life stories and balance, and I just football and my life has been intertwined. And to get this longevity out of it, it could not be that. So
you can't separate the two.
No, you can't separate the two.
You must be grateful that your body,
I have.
When I say grateful, you've obviously worked hard too. I don't mean to say that in like a cheap shot. So how lucky are you to be able to do it, because you work hard to keep fit. But isn't it great that, because it's a tough game on the bodies,
it certainly is.
It's great that you can still play it at that level you are. I think that your body's still in good enough shape. So
you learn to play.
Yeah.
Broken fingers, busted toes, hamstrings, done like that. So so all those things are accumulating the fact that you still get to go. And again, there's different skill sets within that. If I can't be successful running on the ball, they can always find a spot for me down in the pocket or something like that. So as they did, as we've all experienced and watched our favourite teams, our Hawthorns and Tigers in the year gone by, Blake's got cleaned up. Tape him up, put him in the pocket, put him in the goal square,
push him up, hobbling around. I've seen blokes with bloody broken bones and things doing that, going sitting around in pockets.
That's why they hit me in the back pocket.
But you
wasn't injured.
No. Have you got a question? Have you got a?
I do.
Oh, good. I was just going to remind you about that.
I've worn Rod this time. First time I actually worn him. So, and I know we haven't even discussed this yet off air, Brian. So I don't even know if you're across this, but you must be if you're encouraging me to.
Yeah, I remember that you were going, that we hadn't talked about doing it, but you were doing it anyway. So I'm happy with it.
So Rod, as I warned you, we do like to ask our guests if you could go back in time and meet your 14-year-old self. What's the one thing you'd tell him?
Serendipity.
Yeah.
Learn how to pronounce it. Learn how to spell it. And then dream it. Pretty hard to tell yourself what your life's going to be. I would never have imagined what my life had turned out, where I've been today, particularly I have an opportunity to sit down and talk to the two of you. I would never even known that. And how could I possibly tell myself, who's an unconscious incompetent with the world, when you talk about things like that? So I'd like to tell him about serendipity, the word. I said I couldn't read properly. I struggled. Both parents were teachers, mind you. 14-year-old Rod. Introduced you to the word serendipity, unexpected, desirable outcomes, and you can dream, and all these things can happen. You can come across things, and you're lucky. I've still got longevity in football, Brian, because I continue to work so hard, and the harder I trick, the luckier I get at playing the game.
Making your own luck, and making your own life and good fortune. I believe in that too.
I think, and I think a lot of things in my life, my career has taken a path. Someone's always been looking over it, whether that's been my father, who passed away at a late young life. But I can't help but had moments where I'd come across, as an example with that, to get a little bit away from that, I'd come across something, some reading article or something, information I had no intent of looking at it, and I'd be walking in and I'd be asked a question or something, I'd make a decision based on that. How the hell could that happen? So look, serendipity, learn how to pronounce the word because you're a 14-year-old. What the hell is that? Back in the time.
Know what it is, yeah.
Learn how to spell it.
Yep.
Because it's shot a speller.
Yeah.
And learn that life can
and
be
you then start to dream.
serendipitous. Yeah.
So there's some things.
So let life be serendipitous.
Yeah.
You know?
So
let things fall into place.
So there's some things I wanted to throw.
Good advice.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Brian. Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate your persistency to keep me honest and to invite me to your home.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you turning up, and we'll definitely get you back. We'll talk about your footy journey and we'll sort of get to some of those stories. That'd be great.
Good on you. Thank you very much.
Good on you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Rod.
But when that open road starts to call in me, there's something over the hill that I got